Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Dina Kalmeta here, and for today's news, I first want to talk about this Fox News report in regards to President Trump sending nuclear submarines to Russia. Trump stated on Truth Social on Friday that he ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions in response to what he considered highly provocative statements from the former Russian president, Dmitry Medvedev, about a potential war with the U.S. The president told reporters on Sunday that he already put out a statement, and the answer is that they are in the region. They have to be. Trump said that U.S. special envoy is expected to travel to Russia on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. The visit comes ahead of the Friday deadline that the president set for the Russian president to reach a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine or face additional sanctions and tariffs. Trump also has warned about potential secondary tariffs for the purchasers of Russian energy. He says there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. We know they're wily characters and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. So we'll see what happens. But it goes on further to report that before ordering the deployment of nuclear submarines last week, the president had warned Medvedev, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, to watch his words. Medvedev had complained that Trump had shortened the Russia-Ukraine ceasefire deadline from 50 days to just 10 to 12 days, saying that the ultimatum was a threat towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Despite Trump cautioning Medvedev that he was entering dangerous territory, the Russian official doubled down and referenced Russia's dead hand, the Cold War-era automated nuclear retaliation system developed by the Soviet Union. The top Kremlin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, reportedly downplayed the U.S. deployment of nuclear submarines on Monday. He told reporters that American submarines are already on combat duty. That's a constant process. And the Russians don't believe this is a case of any sort of escalation. Asked about Medvedev's comments, Peskov stated that members of the leadership in any country have different views, but stressed that Putin definitively decides Russian foreign policy. He went on to say, "We approach any statements related to nuclear issues with great caution. Russia is firmly committed to nuclear non-proliferation, and we believe that all parties should exercise the utmost restraint when it comes to nuclear rhetoric." Meanwhile, Beijing and Moscow have deepened their ties in recent years, with China providing an economic lifeline to Russia in the face of Western sanctions. Russia and China have started mock combat drills and other war games in the Sea of Japan. Citing a statement from the Chinese Defense Ministry, the newspaper said that the 3-day exercise involves 4 Chinese vessels, including the guided missile destroyers, and entails submarine rescue, joint anti-submarine, air defense, and anti-missile operations and maritime combat, as well as naval patrols in relevant waters of the Pacific. At a press conference announcing details of the annual drills last week, the Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman stated that this is an arrangement with the annual cooperation plan between the Chinese and Russian militaries. It is not targeted at any third party, nor is it related to the current international regional situation. So basically, China and Russia are building ties even stronger, and we've been watching this for quite some time now. Trump is saying, yep, I sent nuclear submarines in the region, trying to get Putin's attention to stop what's happening in Ukraine. And then you have Russia saying, no, it's not that big of a deal. However, Express News is reporting that Putin has moved at least 4 heavy Tu-95MS nuclear bombers closer to Europe. And some of the aircraft are already equipped with cruise missiles. So here we have this report that Russia has moved their nuclear bombers closer to Europe. Could it be a coincidence to Trump's move with his nuclear submarines? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't think anything huge is going to come of these moves right now. In fact, I don't think anything huge will come from it at all, especially with the U.S. envoy on his way to Russia. But we'll wait to see what happens. Now, I would like to talk about some other shaking that's happening here in the United States. In fact, I'd like to take you to this report written by Michael Schneider of the Most Important News. The headline reads, "Now we are witnessing alarming seismic instability along the East Coast, the new Madrid fault line, and the West Coast." Why are we suddenly seeing so much seismic activity all over the planet? Volcanoes just keep erupting one after another, and we just keep witnessing unusual earthquake swarms on major fault lines throughout the world. Last Tuesday, as I have reported, 8.8 earthquake that struck along the Pacific Ring of Fire near Russia. Subsequently, there has been some very alarming seismic instability here in the United States. For example, on Thursday, a quake swarm that included a magnitude 4.3 hit Southern California. Now, those that live in Southern California are tired of hearing that the big one is way overdue, but it is true. It is also true that a major earthquake along the New Madrid seismic zone is way overdue. On Friday, it was hit by a sizable quake for the 23rd time in just 4 weeks. Is the New Madrid seismic zone starting to wake up? It certainly appears so. Following the New Madrid earthquake on Friday, a magnitude 3.0 earthquake hit New York and New Jersey on Saturday. The East Coast is not known for earthquakes, you guys, so this would definitely fall under the category of earthquakes in diverse places that Jesus told us to look for. So what is going on? Why are we suddenly seeing sizable quakes in such diverse places? On Sunday, a magnitude 6.8 earthquake pummeled the Kamchatka Peninsula. We are being told that it was part of the ongoing aftershock sequence following the tsunami-generating 8.8 earthquake. There have been more than 20 major aftershocks of at least a magnitude of a 5.0 in the days since the initial earthquake. And it also appears that the 8.8 earthquake also caused a Russian volcano that had been dormant for almost 600 years to suddenly erupt. The last time that this volcano erupted, it was in the 1400s. Now, on the other side of the globe, one of the most powerful volcanoes in Indonesia just shot hot ash 11 miles into the sky. For the second day in a row, one of Indonesia's most active volcanoes, the Mount Luitobi Laki-Laki volcano, erupted. How many volcanoes, he asked, have to blow their tops before people start waking up? What we are experiencing is definitely not normal. But because most of the major seismic events that we are witnessing are taking place on the other side of the globe, most Americans are not paying very much attention. But ignoring what is happening is not going to change the fact that we really are entering the most apocalyptic chapter in human history. He goes on to state that 2025 has been the year of the flood, but it has also been the year of the fire. Here in the U.S., we are on pace to more than double the number of wildfires that we had last year. And a wildfire that has been burning in the Grand Canyon National Park since July 4th is now considered to be a megafire. As of Friday, the Dragon Bravo fire has burned over 111,000 acres. And as of today, this fire has been burning for an entire month, and there is no end in sight. Of course, most of us stopped thinking about that fire long ago because there is a new major disaster to focus on almost every single day. In fact, if we go over to the Watchers Report, I'm going to read just a few of the headlines that have occurred in the last few days. One perished in Maryland due to flash floods that triggered states of emergency in New York and Jersey. Massive landslide forces 342 evacuations in Russia. Severe drought cuts crop yields by up to 85% in parts of Turkey. Hundreds of vehicles stranded as rare snowstorm hits New South Wales, Australia. Unprecedented dust storm sweeps across Ica Valley, Peru. Here's another earthquake. A 6.4 earthquake hits Pacific Antarctic Ridge, South Pacific Ocean. And then as of today, Tropical Storm Dexter forms off the U.S. coast. Now, with that said, on August 1st, and this comes from Prophecy Recon, written by Joe Hawkins, and he writes, in Eye to Eye, Facing the Consequences of Dividing Israel, journalist Bill Koenig outlines dozens of examples where U.S. pressure on Israel to divide its land was followed almost immediately by major natural disasters, often within hours or days. Hurricanes, market crashes, wildfires, and historic storms have all coincided with diplomatic efforts to undermine Israel's sovereignty, particularly regarding Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. Koenig's research draws a sobering pattern that appears to mirror the biblical warning of Genesis 12, verse 3. I will bless those who bless you, and one who curses you, I will curse. Fast forward to last week. On July 29th, the UN convened a meeting in New York pushing for a renewed international effort towards a two-state solution and further recognition of Palestinian statehood. Just days later, torrential rains overwhelmed parts of New York and Jersey, with record flooding in Hoboken and several boroughs of New York City, prompting emergency declarations. While mainstream headlines chalk this up to other causes, students of prophecy may see a more ancient warning at play. Once again, the timing echoes the eye-to-eye pattern. When nations meddle with God's covenant land, consequences often follow swiftly. And I have reported about this over and over again, not to divide God's land. Now, again, with Israel in mind, on August 3rd, 2025, the Temple Institute ignited a wave of speculation with a cryptic social media post reading, "Scrutinize your watches, it's time to build." The message was accompanied by a photograph of a wristwatch, and eagle-eyed observers quickly noted the details. The time was set to 10:09 and the date to the 27th. Many in the comments section began to theorize that the Institute was hinting at a significant event slated for October 9th, 2027. While no official explanation has been provided, the post's deliberate wording and imagery have stirred intense discussion among those who follow developments surrounding the Temple Mount and prophetic expectations. The Temple Institute, based in Jerusalem, is a prominent organization dedicated to preparing for the construction of a future Jewish temple. For decades, they have been recreating sacred vessels, priestly garments, and other elements necessary for temple service as outlined in the Torah. Their mission is rooted in the belief that rebuilding of the temple is central to Israel's spiritual restoration. Given their influential role in advancing this vision, any announcement, especially one framed with urgency and symbolic timing, is seen by many as a potential indicator of prophetic stage setting. Whether the 10:09 and 27 references point to a specific date or simply serve as symbolic imagery, the post has only fueled the anticipation of those watching for events that could fulfill prophecy concerning the temple in the last days. The Bible clearly tells us that the Temple Mount will once again become the center of spiritual drama in the last days. Daniel, Ezekiel, Zechariah, and Revelation all speak of a rebuilt temple, whether as a house of worship, a scene of coming judgment, or a beacon of final hope. Many Christians know that a third temple will invite the Antichrist desecration, tribulation, and global unrest. Despite the calamity that will surround such a third temple, it is seen as fulfillment of God's plan, a necessary stage before the return of Christ. The Temple Mount matters. Its fate affects us all. We keep on hearing about the temple, more so in recent weeks. I hear, and maybe for those that actually live in Israel, maybe you can tell me if this is true, but there's actual signs that point to a temple. It hasn't been built yet, but this is what I'm being told. So very interesting. And we're seeing this push for a two-state solution. We're seeing seismic activity on a scale that we've never seen before. We're also seeing floods, just as Jesus said it would be, as it were in the days of Noah. And we're also seeing beast-like technology. And this was something that I was waiting to report to you guys. I was just waiting for the headline to come out because I knew sooner or later, eventually it would. Again, Prophecy Recon reports that Bill Gates is predicting the end of the smartphone era, replacing it with something far more intimate and far more invasive. His vision? Electronic tattoos embedded directly into the skin, capable of performing all the functions of a smartphone while also tracking your health in real time. Developed by Chaotic Moon and now owned by Accenture, these tattoos would also allow users to communicate, browse the internet, unlock doors, and access nearly every aspect of the digital world without ever touching a screen. Gates claims that this is the next leap in personal technology, but for those with a biblical worldview, it sounds like yet another step towards a kind of integrated, inescapable system described in Revelation 13. The electronic tattoo concept removes the need for handheld devices entirely, replacing them with an interface woven into the human body, powered by nanocapacitors and activated by gestures. These tattoos wouldn't just connect you to the internet, they would connect you to the system. And because they can monitor heart rate, temperature, and other vital signs, they also become a health tracker permanently attached to you. That level of integration opens a door for unprecedented levels of surveillance and control. Once you rely on it for everyday life, banking, identification, communication, opting out would become nearly impossible. Revelation 13 warns of a time when no one can buy or sell without a specific mark, a system of economic and social control tied to allegiance to the beast. While an electronic tattoo is not the mark of the beast, it could easily become part of the infrastructure that makes such a system possible. It blends identification, health monitoring, financial transactions, and personal data into one device that is not just on you, but in you. The move from carrying tech to wearing it, and eventually embedding it, is a natural progression towards the level of control Scripture warns will one day dominate the world. What Gates seeks is a sleek, convenient, and futuristic upgrade. Prophecy students recognize another brick in the wall of a coming global control system. Technology that merges with the body, tracks your life in real time, and connects you directly to a central network is not just a cool gadget. It's a prophetic milestone. The smartphone once made us dependent. An electronic tattoo could make us captive. The question isn't whether the tech will arrive. Gates says it's already here, but whether we will recognize where it's leading before it's too late. Now, this is something that I believe, and what the article is alluding to, that could become the mark of the beast in the future. It isn't right now, but how easy would it be, you guys, to encode this thing with 666, right? How easy it would be to track you. Now, let's go to Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So with a tattoo, you really don't need a microchip, unless, of course, the microchip is the one that's embedded under the skin and the tattoo on top of the skin. But it's clear from Revelation 13, 16 through 18 that there will be some type of a mark in order to buy or sell anything. And with this new gadget that Bill Gates is creating is definitely a step in that direction. I don't know how much more clear it could be. They already have the technology. The only thing missing is the return of Christ. And then it'll be full-on tribulation. So get your houses in order, get right with Christ, and do not be left behind. With that said, please do leave your comments below this video. I'd love to get your thoughts. Also, come and visit me on our social media pages as well as my website at www.cww7news.com. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, God bless and stay safe.